Okay, let's do a little experiment here. So let's take the month that you were born in. Take that number and add the day that you were born. Add those two together. Now you got that? Okay, take the first letter of your first name and figure out which letter of the alphabet that is and multiply that by your original number. Now you take that, you divide that by 2. What are you thinking of? I really have no idea. So obviously I'm not a psychic, but you can learn a little bit if you try to play telepathy. So in telepathy, you're trying to read your opponent's mind and using logic to try to figure out what point on the board they are thinking of. So I'll show you what the components are in the game. It is actually pretty simple. You get a little placard here that is what you determine what your stuff is. That way you don't forget what you picked. One for each player. You both get one of these really pretty boards that look almost like a crazy Sudoku board, but you'll get one of those for each player, and both of these are exactly the same. And of course you get a dry erase eraser and some dry erase markers. Setting up the game is pretty simple. You give each player a board here, and then you also give each player one of these handy boards here that you're going to stand up so that your opponent cannot see what you have selected. And what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and on your board here, you're going to pick one of the places on the board and you're going to mark it here on your board. So let's just say, for example, I'm going to pick this yellow eye that is right here. So first thing I'm going to do is look on my board. It says row and column. So this yellow eye right here is in row J. So J goes right there. And which column is this yellow eye in? This yellow eye is in column 8. So you write that on your board. And now to remember that it was a yellow eye, you're going to have a yellow, and where does it go? A yellow eye. So that way you remember J8, yellow eye, is your square. And your opponent will do the same thing. So then comes into the deduction part of the game. You're going to pinpoint a place on the board. So you're going to say one of the places, kind of like Battleship, but with more elements. So, let's just, start off simple. I'm guessing what my opponent has, and I'm going to say A1 blue lightning bolt. Now, here's where it gets very interesting. If none of those are correct, my opponent will simply say no. But if any single one of those are correct, my opponent will say yes. If 2 of those are correct, my opponent will say yes. If 3 of those are correct, my opponent will still say yes. So I don't know which one of those elements is correct, but I just know something I picked was correct. So you go through and you're trying to figure out whatever. You can mark on here. You can also mark on the side of your board here. So if I knew he said yes for this, I might, do like a circle there. I know something is correct in that area, and I don't know what it was. So I'm going to try to determine, I was like, well, let's see if that was the color. So I'm going to go, after they choose something and they ask me a question, I'm going to say, you know what, let's continue with this blue theme here. Let's go E3 blue circle. If they say yes again, well, I know something is correct, but do I know if it was the blue? Well, I'm not sure. So you go through and you're trying to determine and mark off however you make your notes and stuff on here until you can determine what your opponent's element truly is. So yeses actually help less in the beginning than nos do. So for example, if I had said E3 blue circle and my opponent had said no, well then I already know that it is definitely not blue because that's the only thing that those two had in common. So I know on my thing I'm going to mark off blue. And then if I really wanted to, I can go ahead on my big board and cross off every blue element just so I am sure I don't accidentally pick it again. You know, just go through and mark all those off. But you get the idea. So as you try to whittle it down and try to figure out which is your opponent's square, you'll be getting closer and closer and closer. If I happen to actually pick my opponent's square exactly, but I'm only asking the coordinates and color and shape, they're still only going to tell me yes or no. The only way to win the game is to confidently say, I know what your square is. Your square is K9 white eye. And then they'll tell me yes or no, and then they will flip over the board to see if I'm right. If you are right, you win, and if you are incorrect, you of course lose the game and your opponent does win. So Telepathy is actually a pretty fun deductive game. Just trying to figure out what your opponent has, trying to figure out what questions to ask, and figure out how to whittle down what they have. So as I said, sometimes yeses in the very beginning of the game are really not helpful until you start getting rid of some stuff so you can whittle down to exactly what square your opponent is thinking of or what they have written down on their board. So let's get to the rating of Telepathy. First up is gameplay. With gameplay, this game is very, very easy to learn. So young kids, I think on the box they actually suggest 10 and up. So definitely 10 and up. That's a good baseline for determining who can play this game. I definitely suggest that. You can probably even go lower if you have some pretty smart kids, so teach them some deductive reasoning. So for gameplay, I'm going to give Telepathy an A-. Next up would be components. Well, they're just dry erase boards and markers. There really isn't much to them, but they're very pretty, brightly colored, very easy to determine some of the colors. There might be some colorblind issues, but maybe for colorblind this might not be a game for you to even pick up because of the reliance on colors for this game. But overall, with the components, they are really good quality. I'm going to give components a B. Lastly will be replay. With so many options on the board, it's definitely replayable. So you're not going to have the same game twice unless you have, you're playing against your 8-year-old and they always pick the same square every single time. But then that actually teaches them a lesson to change up their options. That way Daddy can't reason it very well and Mommy can't figure out what you're picking either. So with replay, I'm going to give it a B+. So we throw all those together, mash them up and see what we get. An overall score for Telepathy is going to be a B-. So this game is definitely high on the ranking. B- is nothing to be ashamed about. So the guys at BuzzBot are actually bringing this game back from Doom, I guess you might call it. They saw this game and the original designer said that he really didn't want to worry about publishing it anymore. So they have taken over and they have gained the intellectual property for this game. So they are the ones now picking up the publishing and getting it out to the masses. So I do have a special offer for you guys, or a deal. Surprise! If you go to buzz-bot.com and give the code CLOAK and you want to purchase this game, you will get 15% off. Yes, that's right, my first discount code! Yay! So yes, go to buzz-bot.com, type in the word CLOAK, and you'll get 15% off this game if you were wanting to purchase it. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and support Cloak and Meeple. Thanks.